right, 6 o'clock. Let's get the working session going. I don't know what we have to do to get her going.
Sarah, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Yep.
Okay.
Awesome. Hey, we're ready whenever you are then.
Okay. Did you guys receive copies of the audit books?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to share my screen, but I'll give you the page numbers so you can either follow along with what I have up or you can look in your books, whatever works best for you. So thank you guys for having me tonight. I appreciate the opportunity to present remotely. I'm Sarah Neal, I'm an audit manager with Bright Arts, and I just wanted to go over some of the highlights from the district's FY25 audit. Start off by thanking the district staff, especially Sheena and Jill. They did a great job getting prepared for us, and really the audit went very well. We were actually in the first week in October, so to be issued by middle of November just is a testament to how much prep work they did. So thanks to those two. When looking through the board members, it looked like we had some new members this year. So the audit report is obviously very large and overwhelming. I'm just going to go over some of the things that I think are most important for you as a board to be aware of. But if you have any questions as I'm going through things, please feel free to interrupt, stop me. I'd be happy to discuss further. So the first thing I want to highlight is our independent auditors report. The district received an unmodified opinion this year, which is also known as a clean opinion. So we are stating that your financial statements are fairly presented in accordance with government auditing standards and generally accepted accounting principles. That is on page 2 of your audit book. Next, I'm going to go to page 10. This gives a summary of your general fund revenues current year to prior year. So your enrollment was almost exactly what it was last year, so we wouldn't have expected a large change in your revenues. Most of your revenue is driven by the number of students that you have. So you can see here your general fund revenue was down about $62,000 over last year, which makes sense considering the enrollment. And then your expenditures were down $813,000. Some of that was due to capital expenditures, which aren't a year-to-year thing, so that was about $400,000 of the decrease. But then a lot of it was due to budget cuts and things like that the district needed to make as they were approaching SOD. Next, I'm going to go to page 16. This shows your revenues and expenses for the general fund and the debt service fund. So your general fund balance increased $645,782, and you ended the year with a fund balance of $1,326,000. Your debt service fund increased $49,905 and ended the year with a fund balance of $274,550. And then your community service and food service are lumped into that non-major fund column. Those also increased $22,636. Ended the year with a fund balance of $243,452. So all your funds increased fund balance this year, which was nice to see. The next 30-some pages are just notes to the financial statements. They go into additional detail of specific balance sheet line items, capital assets, pensions, other post-employment benefits, etc. So I generally just skip over those during these presentations unless there's anything you guys are interested in reviewing or talking about. If not, we'll skip to page 42, and that is your budget to actual report. $1.5 million budget. We're within $100,000, so very nice job budgeting those revenues. And then on the expenditure side, again, good monitoring, controlling your expenses. Your expenses were $286,000 under budget. So going into the year, the district expected their fund balance to increase $430,000 approximately, and you're up $646,000. So a positive impact over your budget. On page 49, just wanted to show you the detail of your food service and community service funds. So both of those funds reported a positive increase in fund balance, which is nice to see. Not all of our food service funds for districts that we audit are able to report operating income. You don't want them to make a lot of money, but a break even is a good goal, and your food service hit that, so that's nice to see. And same thing with the community service. The transfer into the community service is for your pool levy, which is just a different component of your levy, so it has to be transferred in. So with that, again, your community service fund is making enough money to cover all of its expenses, which is nice to see. On the next page, page 50, this details the components of your fund balance. So some of the money that you receive from the state of Minnesota is restricted for specific purposes. You can't just spend it on general day-to-day operations of the district. So your district does have a few larger restricted fund balances. Operating capital is one of them, $264,000 restricted for that. And then long-term facility maintenance, LTFM, has about $291,000 restricted. So of your $1.3 million fund balance in the general fund, only $310,000 is unassigned. The reason that's important is a lot of times when the state is looking at SOD calcs, for instance, they're looking at your unrestricted fund balance. So even though $1.3 million is a nice amount, you only have $310,000 that's unassigned currently. So just want you to keep that in mind when you're looking at your fund balance. The next page is our report on Minnesota legal compliance. So when we come in to do our audit, in addition to looking at all the numbers, we also do some testing to make sure that the district is complying with state statutes. So we look to make sure that your deposits have proper collateral assigned to them. There's no conflicts of interest with board members. You're following all bid and quote laws. And we're happy to report that we found nothing as a result of that testing. The next page, page 52, is our report on government auditing standards, which is also commonly known as an internal control report. So we do some testing, do some inquiry over your processes and procedures for internal controls over financial reporting. So how does cash get from a student into the general ledger? How does a bill go about being paid? How do your employees get paid? We test some of those major transaction cycles and see if there were any identified weaknesses in those. So we have identified two control deficiencies. One's a material weakness and one's a significant deficiency. The difference is just what we believe would be the impact on the financial statements. Would the result of that internal control deficiency have a material effect, a material misstatement on your financial statements, or not? So the first finding we have is related to segregation of duties, and it's reported as a material weakness. So that's on page 54. It's very common in a school district of your size to not have proper or enough staff to have proper segregation of duties. So this is a common finding at many of our small districts. It rose to a level of material weakness this year just because of some additional audit journal entries that we had to do. So Scott and I discussed this. We think, just monitoring those budget to actual reports, again, lots of time and effort getting poured into that budget, so you might as well use those budget to actual reports. And then looking over those year-end balance sheet accounts before we come into audit, just to make sure everything looks right and everything has support. So I don't think that this is going to be an issue going forward, but like I said, for a district of your size, it's probably always going to be a finding. It's just going to be maybe a significant deficiency in the future. The second finding is related to financial statement prep. Again, very common for small districts to have this. It's just saying that us as auditors assist in the preparation of the financial statements. And so you probably can't eliminate that risk. These government audit reports are a beast. Not, if you're not an accountant or doing this full time, you're probably not going to want to compile one of these by yourself. So just looking over those is what we asked Sheena and Scott to do to make sure that we didn't miss anything. I think we've issued a separate letter to you guys. The past 4 years for sure, your general fund balance was declining very rapidly, and last year you were approaching SOD, so we just compiled this table to show you where you are at in that calculation. Happy to report that the unrestricted fund balance has increased this year, and the SOD count is at 10.2. To be in SOD by definition would be a deficit of 2%. So you guys are about 12% above the SOD threshold, still below your fund balance policy. I believe the district has a fund balance policy, and your goal is to maintain a minimum fund balance of 25% of your annual budget. That's a very common percentage for school districts. So based on your FY25 expenditures, you want that minimum unassigned fund balance to be 1.7 million. And like we talked about earlier, even though your total fund balance is 1.3 million, your unassigned fund balance is only at 310,000. So you're about 1.4 million below where your fund balance policy would like you to be. So just continuing to monitor expenditures. You guys did a nice job getting that referendum passed, so that's going to help improve these numbers too. But it's always just watch where you're at, see where you can save, type of thing, especially right now with such a low unassigned fund balance. Any questions on the numbers, the findings, the auditors report, SOD calc, anything like that?
Doesn't sound like it.
No? Okay. Well, if you guys do think of anything, I'm always happy to answer questions, so please give me a call, reach out to Scott or Sheena and let me know.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
So you guys,
What's that?
you guys want to switch sides?
Oh, I think we should.
It makes sense.
I felt comfortable enough. I don't want to get to their side here.
Is this yours? No, mine.
Was there any, there was no citizens forum, or do we have anything?
Yeah. There you go.
We'll go with no. Nope. We'll go on to board committees. Any boards, committee meetings?
Yes, meet and confer. We met with everybody, had some good conversations around it, and how we can help out, just different things like that. So some good meetings that went on.
Okay. And I know the policy committee met. We didn't really go over any specific policies, but we went over policies in general and kind of how we're going to be approaching them going forward, and there'll be some policies coming up. Any other committees meet? Forest always meets.
Nope, not until December 8th.
Wow. Okay. Then we'll go on to superintendent report.
I'm going to have Tracy come up first. She's going to talk about the Mars DAC position, update on the student numbers,
Okay.
and how that changeover is happening.
Hello, Tracy Cook. Our enrollment numbers as of today are, in the high school we have 221 students. Numbers last year at this same time was 226. We are down 5 for high school. Elementary students at this time today, we have 218 students. Numbers the same time last year were 230 students, so we are down 12 in the elementary. Total for enrollment today for the whole school is 439, and last year's numbers at this time was 456, so down 17 in total. The trainings that I've attended, or training I've attended in person, is the Region 1 conference. Region 1 is our Student Information System, Synergy. The sessions that I attended were the EdFi working session, MCCC setup, which was 2 sessions, new features, tips and tricks, and intro to EdFi. Some online trainings that I've taken advantage of are the Mars reporting training through MDE. I have more to be scheduled. I've done the WIDA training, which is the English language learners through tests through MDE that will have to be administered, and I do have more training to do with that as well. ACT training, I've done the training, I've administered the first test. I'll be doing more training for the next test in the spring. March, I believe, is when the next test is for ACT. I've done some of the Pearson Access training for administering MCAs. I'm obviously scheduled for more for that too. I've done food service training so I can be at the point of service. I've done FastBridge training for student uploads, Think Central training for student uploads, and I've done a little bit of the AccuPlacer training, and I have more training to be scheduled with that as well. I continue to be grateful for the opportunity to contact Diane Lane as a consultant. I am still learning this position, and I reach out to her via email, and I've also scheduled calls with her as well, so she can help me with questions for reports and submissions that I have not done before. So,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
So you have a packet from me, and at the top of that packet, I believe, or within that packet, you'll see a District 390 data overview. So in our conversations up to this point, I talked about digging in and doing more data. I've done some data review with staff on the half day, and so in doing this, and then in our next one-to-ones, we're going to be able to dig in much deeper with the data with the board. So my goal is that we're all kind of side by side in terms of understanding. So I want to make sure that you folks are up to date on how we're looking at data and what that means. So when you look at that packet that I've given you, you'll be able to see, and this would be for this year now because these are October 1 numbers, but you can see our enrollment, our demographics on our enrollment, and then our different student groups that we serve. So students that receive English learner services or special education services, and of course, students that do qualify for education services and or benefits, and which is also known as free and reduced meals. After that, you can see our previous 5-year math proficiency rates. And the graphic I want to point out is the next one, academic progress. Academic progress refers to how students are doing from one year to the next. So it's really referring to those cohorts. They're the cohort groups. So as you can see, it shows in the dark blue the achievement level improves. So that would be the percentage of students, and the counts and the percentages are below. Of the students who improved achievement levels on the MCAs, the achievement levels are, the lowest is does not meet, and then it's partially meets, and then meets, and then exceeds. So if you think of that middle line of where somebody is proficient, meets and exceeds is above that, partial and does not is below that. So that dark blue portion represents the students that improved their achievement level. In the green are students who maintained their achievement level from the prior year. And in that lighter color blue are students that are either at a does not meet, or maybe their achievement level decreased from the prior year. So then the next page in math, that's a graphic that I've used for a number of years, and you'll see more of these as we move forward in the upcoming month or two. But what this shows, it's going to show the number of students who receive education benefits. So again, free and reduced, lunch. The columns for the N and the Y, the no and the yes, are the students who were not proficient or who were proficient. And then the rows, the yes are students who receive those benefits. The no are students who do not receive those benefits. So the reason to look at data this way is to look at what are the gaps. So what are the gaps between students, if you want to say an average student that does not receive any benefits or anything like that versus those that do. It's a way for us to look at, just as a system, how are we potentially serving the needs of our students. And then after that, you'll see the same types of graphics for reading. And with the reading, again, you'll see that, and this is like this in the state, there's a trend, somewhat of a trend going upward as the new science of reading standards and instruction methods are employed across the state. Then I'll have you jump ahead another page, and then you can see our graduation. And as you can see for the district, we continue to be above the state average. And now with graduation rates, they're always a year behind. So we won't, the official graduation rates for the end of last spring, which technically goes into the summer, won't be published until February or March. But Mary, what was the graduation rate last year, last spring? Do you remember off the top of your head? Okay.
I mean, if we want to look at how many seniors were enrolled here and graduated, we're at 100%.
Okay.
But these numbers track like grades 9 through 12. So if we lose a student in those 4 years.
But they were with us the majority of the time.
Well, if they started at 9th grade,
Right.
it's going to count against you.
Yep.
Even though they aren't in our filter when
Right.
they're a senior.
But it's interesting how our proficiency rates in the math and the reading are below state average, but our graduation rates are above.
Mm-hmm.
So going off of what you're talking about here this is at the beginning of the year. Is this going to change as we move through the year?
No, this is the data from last spring's test.
Last spring?
Last spring. So every spring,
Yeah.
the state math and reading tests are given.
Okay,
Yep.
and then this is what we had last year?
Right.
Okay,
Right.
gotcha, thank
Yep.
you.
Any other questions on this piece?
Does that test results and different things like that, is that, I don't know if it would be an eye-opener, or like, is that concerning at all, or is that something that we're, looking at, increasing, you know?
Yes, so that we are, again, with staff, we kind of did a step one with looking at the data and recognizing, what the data is. Because just looking at this, again, this is a high-level data, and we're looking at this as a system. This data gives us ideas of trends. To look at this data and say, oh, this is why, there's no way you can make that kind of a leap. So what we're continuing to do now is dig in deeper and identify some things and reasons in terms of, what are the successes that exist in the system that we build upon, what are the gaps we want to fill, and so with our data as we're moving forward, those are going to be the things we're looking at. So is it what we would want it to be? And I think it's very clear that no, we believe we are better as a system. We know our students definitely are. So there's a number of pieces that go into that, and as we move forward and dive deeper into the data, and we actually get to that point where we're presenting and talking about a comprehensive needs assessment, which is what we're in the process of doing, we'll be able to dig deeper into what are potential root causes. So that gives us ideas on, how do we move forward, which our hope is that aligns then to the district's process of strategic planning, because that helps inform everything as well.
Yeah, so this being a data set of one, do you have more data that's from the past that you're comparing this to, or?
Yeah, some of that's in,
that out?
some of that's in here,
Yeah.
And there's other pieces that that I'm putting together or have put together to dig deeper with some of those tables that exist in here. And then beyond that, there's a lot of other types of data. So looking at this, looking at some of our the one-to-one data with different groups, looking at survey data that we've received, and then there's opportunities here over the next couple months to do more surveys and get student voice involved as well. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Be interesting to see, like, go back, because this goes back to 2021. We'll go back further, and at some point in time, us as a district, were we meeting or above the state stamp,
Yeah, a number of years ago, yes.
2014,
2014 was the last year.
2014 or 13, that's when there was the big shift over.
And our class sizes haven't changed since 2014, have they?
I think they've gone down a little bit. When we moved here in 2009, I think in 2008 there were like 800 kids. And then it's dropped steadily since then.
Yeah, the total number of kids, I'm just wondering about the average class size we have here. I think it's gone
class
down.
size, I think we've been right around 17 to 20 kids in classrooms as far as I can remember.
Yep.
So,
Better.
yeah, well, class size, I guess when we think of class size, we think of how many students per grade as a class, but
You're asking
I
about
was thinking, I'm kind of thinking at
the actual,
student to teacher
ratio, okay.
And,
No, that clarifies.
okay.
So, yeah, so again, high-level view as when we did this with staff, we used what's called an ORID process. So the first piece is to observe, and then the second piece is, reflect on this and, how does this make me feel? Because as you look at data, you have to take the time to recognize and honor that, because if you don't, people will be stuck there as you're trying to move and expand what you're seeing and bring in other considerations before you go to decision making. So we just focused on those first two pieces, and that's what I would offer for you folks too. We can't look at any of this data and go, oh, I know why. We just don't. We have to dig in deeper, and that's part of the process that we're going to be doing over the next few weeks and months. So, thank you. The next piece I would invite you to take a look at, and I'm sure this is one that's at the top of people's minds, but the finance and construction draft timeline. So that's this blue sheet, and stapled onto it is the Kraus-Anderson document from last year, the proposal for planning and management services. I just attached that. So what we're looking at, we are looking at December to bring a resolution to authorize the issuance of school building bonds, and which includes participation in the credit enhancement program. So Ellers takes care of all this for us. So it's going to work out really well. By doing that, then in January, Ellers will present to the board a pre-sale report on the bonds, because we will be going out to sell bonds. So, and that's great because that's competitive, so that we can get the lowest interest rate possible. In February, then they'll set a February bond sale date for the 23rd, the day of the school board meeting, because that day those bonds will be sold, and then it can be brought to the board to approve the resolution awarding the school funding bonds, or the building bonds. And then in March is the bond closing date, and that's when the underwriter will actually provide bond proceeds to the district, and those proceeds can be invested. Now, initially the idea was those are invested because it's under $15 million. If we invest any percentage or investment we make above I call it our buy rate on the bonds, right? So what we're paying in interest, if we're able to invest and we make more in interest off that, that's more money than we have that we can use towards these projects as long as it's used within 3 years. The day after I met with Ellers, Kraus Anderson and Widseth were up here, and I met with them on the construction timeline, and they said, if that is the timeline that Ellers says that's realistic, they would be able to get their proposal and that initial proposal with the basic numbers and everything to us here in December, and they would be in a position then so that they could go out for bid in February and March, and we could actually, they said, get most of this done this summer. Advantages and disadvantages. A disadvantage, of course, I just talked about, hey, we can get this money and it can be sitting earning some interest for us, and that can help out. But at the same time, waiting another year, who knows where construction costs or how much higher they're going to go, because all the estimates and everything we're working out of were from 2023 assessments with updates for 2025. That's why we saw that $1 million there, that difference. So it really would, from what I'm hearing and understanding, be in our best interest to, if we can get a large chunk of this done this next summer, that would be great. But of course, there's a lot of planning to do, in terms of what's the school programming we have going on in the summer, how do we ensure, what parts are being done when, so that we still have access to do the things that we're doing for our kiddos and all those pieces. But so a lot of things in motion, but we definitely have a very positive, I think, outlook in being able to really start getting the building side of things really worked on here potentially this summer now. Along with that, I have an update from the Safe School Routes. They've finished a multiple of options with that I'm going to be sharing with you now for this next month. And with that, I'm waiting for clarification on what other potential grants we might be eligible or be able to receive as part of that, because if that works out to our advantage, I'll say, in other words, we're able to get some grant money for the Safe Route to School piece, that can overlap with some of these projects, which then opens up that window so that those construction funds, as we look at our priority list, and we have our big 5 or 6 pieces, and then we have like some of the boiler pieces and the control valves, if we're able to save money or get grants that offsets another part of this, that gives us some of that funding to actually go down deeper on that list as well. So,
what do you think the time frame is on that, finding out about that grant? Would it be in time?
I don't know what the dates are right now, so I wouldn't be able to answer that. That's what I'm hoping to get confirmed here in the next day or two. And then the other piece I have for you is strategic planning. So I have an outline sheet. So we have 3 core kind of options for strategic planning. We can do we can do it ourselves. We can go through MSBA. There's advantages and disadvantages there. We could go through Donovan Group. They're one of the major ones. They have more overlapping services for some things that we're going to be needing to do, so there's potential there for advantages. And then there's some other, I identified a couple others in the state that I've heard and found that some folks have gone with, but I don't have more details on them just because of kind of where things are at with some of these numbers and everything, but they all provide, in the end, very similar service. For some of these folks, because they're based out of the cities, they maybe don't want to be coming up here, and so they want to do everything virtually, and so there's a lot of advantages and disadvantages, but I present this to you now along with those 2 documents from 2 of the groups so that you have a chance to look that over and moving forward here in December or January. Probably, I think realistically would be January on establishing a strategic planning process. And then finally, in the packet for me, you'll see some things in there from both MSBA and the Northwest Service Co-op. So with different trainings and things coming up, there's a ballot for Northwest Service Co-op for their board. So I've provided a postage paid envelope for you. So if you can, maybe before you leave, if you want to vote, I think as you look at that, it's going to be pretty simple. But and then put that in the envelope, and then we can get that out in the mail, and you don't have to mess with that. So any questions for me? My apologies. I know that was a lot. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Starting off with parent-teacher conferences that were November 6th were very well attended. As we know, elementary always has an excellent attendance. A lot of input from high school teachers, especially high attendance from our junior high parents. So I don't know if that was a difference with going from 12:30 to 7, but it was nice to see so many parents on the high school end. Veterans Day program was well attended, and as always, our veterans appreciated the meal that we provide for them. Our cooks always do a wonderful job. Our Indian Ed Committee met and looked and discussed some activities for coming up, and we have Dan Ninham and or Susan scheduled for, we're adding an Indigenous foods activity for our high school students, so teachers have already signed classes up for those 2 days, and then 2 days for Indigenous games for our elementary students, so looking forward to those opportunities. And then the committee's going to meet again in February to look at some additional activities, and then Mrs. Crandall, who was doing work with the kids last year, is going to continue that during library time. And one thing from the committee that they wanted to focus on was continuing the Ojibwe language, which Mrs. Crandall did some. And she has continued to take classes on Rosetta Stone, so excited about that. We have a high school student who's interested in that, so it's a program that we have it, we own it, so that can be shared with them, so that's very encouraging. And then Mrs. Crandall, I was able to arrange her schedule, so during the high school lunchtime, can be an open period for her now, and so she's doing, started doing some beading activities with some of the high school students, so giving them opportunities like our elementary kids have during library time. Choir concert tonight for our 6th through 12th graders, so I am going to be sneaking out, well, just leaving quite frankly, to attend that. Creativity Festival this Wednesday, which is such a wonderful activity for our 7th graders, going to Bemidji for that. And then the Big White Elephant Sale coming up December 11th and 12th. And then before we know it, it's going to be Christmas break. Do you have any questions for me?
Do we have an elementary concert coming up?
We do in December, and it is a Friday at 2 o'clock, and I don't know the exact date. I want to...
I'll work on it.
Okay.
18th.
Oh, yes, it's the 18th, because they talked about a makeup concert, and I said, no, we're going to be good. So 2 o'clock in the afternoon on the 18th. And that way, when the concert's finished, if parents want to take their children home with them, they can. So that's why they picked 2 o'clock. Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Maria.
Had to look and double check, so.
Hello. So I'll start with a pool update. David Peterson, our new pool person, will give you, I think we decided on twice yearly updates from himself at various points throughout the year. But just to give you a little bit of feedback in terms of since he's been hired and that transition. I think you got the October pool snapshot. He's also given me a November pool snapshot. In general, it's relatively the same schedule, right? Monday, Wednesday, Friday, morning swims. We've got 2 open swims, Tuesday, Thursdays, water aerobics twice a week. Birthday parties continue to be a really big hit. He has 200 elementary swimming is on Fridays, all except for pre-K, all elementary swim. So that's over 200 students. And he and Andrina tag team on that. It's a partnership between the two of them. So we have, thanks to the custodial and maintenance department, are going to be opening Saturday open swims again, which is quite exciting. We have enough staffing both on the pool side and the custodial side. It's going to be from 1 to 4 on Saturdays. So appreciate the kind of work to make that happen. It's a big deal in terms of what the community's access to the pool. A note that he wanted me to convey after announcing the opening of Saturday Open Swim in December on social media, 4 Saturday December birthday parties were booked within 1 hour. So it's a pretty high demand piece. He also has been working on a pool survey to try and get some feedback from the community about how often you use it, what types do you use it, as well as generating some creative feedback in terms of new ways we can venture into that. Give him a lot of credit for being very, being good with advertising, being very bold about what's happening and how to get access. So you'll hear, like I said, more from him. We also hired a new adult lifeguard, so we're starting to make progress on a couple new student lifeguards, so starting to make progress on the pool staffing side of that as well, which custodial staffing is one thing as well as pool staffing. Got to make sure we have all of that. Winter coaching slate, several familiar faces. You will notice we did have a resignation in our assistant hockey spot. Brett Nylander is gratefully carrying the torch as he was the head coach anyway, but has gotten a couple volunteers to help him with practices. We have a kind of safety supervision plan to have a parent at this point. Tracy Cook has been, because she's going to the games with her kids anyway, she will be at those games to serve as a backup supervisor in case something happens. So she's not coaching on the bench, but kid breaks their arm, needs to go to the hospital. She is a school employee who can cover so that Brett doesn't have to leave kids. Not that he would, right? So we've got it covered for now. If you know of anyone who's interested, let us know. But Brett's doing a great job and appreciate all the people stepping up to make sure that we're making it happen. Girls hockey update, nothing concrete other than continuing to keep the conversation going. I think our athletics committee will hear from me probably after the holidays, after the new year, to have some consistent conversations about what we're doing. My goal is to have a plan this summer so we can be clear with our people about what and that's, I don't know what the plan is, but to have a plan, right? So I've been in conversations with parents and students and trying to get, and the athletics committee, we will talk about kind of next steps and how to gather that type of stuff. But just to know that that's on the docket. If you have specific questions about where those conversations have been going, happy to talk about it. Special events, we do, I think you all know this, but we do these day games where we have a basketball game or a basketball game or volleyball game in the past played during the day. Strategically scheduled one for December 22nd, which is that weird day and a half we have before Christmas. So it'll be in the afternoon, boys basketball against Floodwood. The boys basketball team has not had one in a few years, so it's their turn. And we've never done one with hockey. That'll happen later in the winter. really cool opportunities for students to experience athletics. One, the place is rocking, right? Like the crowd is as big as it will get. We even have refs talking about it's their favorite games to do because it's so loud and so much fun. And in a district that is so geographically expansive, it is hard for our younger students to make it to those evening games. Hard to ask a parent to take their kid off the bus from Long Point and hustle them all the way back in for a basketball game. So I feel strongly about these and appreciate admin being supportive of them, because I do think they're an access question. Like, A, they're super fun, and I'm a fan, but they are an access question for our kids to get excited about activities and things like that. We are hiring David Peterson as the youth sports coordinator. You heard in an update from Scott that it is a reconfigured position that TJ had. It's a little less. I think we figured out that there's stuff that I can continue to do. This position is an attempt to make sure that the community ed activities get the attention that they deserve, right? So that's scheduling for practice and game scheduling for elementary winter basketball, and then summer ball programs. I find that those, in my own priority matrix, community ed needs some attention, and this is a way of making sure that they get the attention they deserve. So, and then of course, the thing I'm on the come down from, the holiday extravaganza this weekend. A really great turnout. We had, I don't know if it's a record, but we had 97 booths, which amounts to about 70 vendors. We try and track an attendance rate of people walking through the door via the door prize. That's our sneaky trick to try and get a head count. We had a head count of about 710 people, but of course not everyone puts their name in the door prize. So I think I can conservatively say 900. If I'm being real excited, you know me, I would say it's over 1,000 people were there. We had Just for Kicks dance. They do it every year. Women of Today sponsor Turkey Bingo. Girl Scouts do a kids craft. We had a visit from Santa, actually a couple Santas. The situation was handled, so. So just to really, we have a book fair going on. The other fun thing happening was the Bears Closet, C-L-A-W, sit. Happening, it's a back corner in the media center. Amy Keeman is heading that up, but Bears Clothing Thrift Store. I know that there was a vicious silent auction bidding war happening for a Leatherman's jacket, like dollar by dollar. I'm not actually sure. Anyone know who won that? Lucas Holland or Carter Husbands? It was pretty impressive. They were into it. Anyway, shout out to Amy Keeman for making that happen. More access to Bears gear at a cheaper rate is always a good thing. And I think that's a long-term prospect. So, I do have an additional update just because I want her to get a shout out is ECFE. This is not on you might even be able to give me more of an update. Jenny Krause and her ECFE course. She runs a fall class from October 30th through December 18th, and they do weekly sessions. There are 12, she says on average 12 to 14 families showing up every time with and again, average 20 to 26 toddlers, preschoolers, and siblings that are there. It's happening in the new ECFE room. They're telling these nursery rhymes and tales and then making puppets out of spoons, which is such a creative idea. So great turnout there. Like really excited that we have a young crowd of connected families participating in that. Storybook Trail continues to happen even through the winter months. And of course, Mary mentioned the White Elephant Sale, which is, I think, my favorite event of the year. Like cannot be unhappy when you're at that thing. Kids are just so psyched about it. So shout out to Jenny. She's doing a lot of great stuff with ECFE on top of her 5th grade position. So appreciate all of her work on that stuff. Okay, that's the run. Any questions on any of that?
I'll just add that David's doing a wonderful job, like showing what's going on at the pool.
Yeah,
and,
cool.
Like, it's out there and people are asking questions and got the survey, saw
Yeah,
the survey
good.
out there, so.
That's great to hear.
It's like really, he's like teasing something
Yeah.
that's coming. Like,
He's gonna be
people are
very
really
excited.
hooked on this.
You you are noticing.
What is it? So,
Good. I think he's enjoying it too, which is fun,
Yeah,
right? Like,
yeah.
fun to have that kind of energy there.
And
so.
especially
Referring to
like,
making- Something's coming back to make a splash.
Yeah. Wow,
it's
you guys are really
like
paying
he's
attention. I
grabbing the
appreciate that.
readers.
Yeah.
And of course, like this time of year, it's so nice to have when it's just
Yes.
dark and cold.
Well, I
And,
mean,
yeah.
appreciate Scott, because I was banging on his door a lot about this. But December, January, February is the
Yeah.
time
Yeah.
that weekend open swim gets used the most.
Yeah.
So,
That's
we might, if we come back to a point where we don't have enough people, we might decide seasonally to not have that open. Are you in a
Right.
pool, are you in the lake, right? That type of thing in the summer. So, there's some seasonality of that we can kind of figure out as time goes on. But it's an important time to have it open. Good?
Thank you.
Yeah,
Okay,
thank you.
All right, anything else for the working session? Then we'll close it.
Do we need Sheena? Doesn't Sheena typically do
We
the
had the
finance
financial
review, but we just did that
review.
this time? Okay, okay, just wanted to make sure.
Then we'll end the working session and reconvene in 9 minutes.
You were back here.
is still 7 o'clock.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, I need a motion and a second to approve the October 27th, 2025 meeting agenda.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Sonstagard,
I'll second.
second by Kayla Johnson. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Any board presenters? Written communication. Old business. New business. Need a motion and a second to approve the October 27, 2025 regular board meeting minutes and the November 10th, 2025 canvassing meeting minutes.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Hack,
Second by Seaver.
second by Severs. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Need a motion and a second to approve the invoices, financial statements, bank reconciliation, wire transfers, and purchase card statement.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Kay Johnson,
Second by Hack.
second by Hack. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. I'm sorry for the delay. I'm looking over to see how this is written up. Okay. Okay. Need a motion and a second to approve the appointment and resignations as presented. Appointments: Becky Severin, School's Office Secretary; Charles Hammonds, Night Shift Custodian; Tony Brose, Varsity Baseball Coach; Michaela Luchek, Girls Junior High Basketball Coach; Gary Moeller, Boys C Team Basketball Coach; David Peterson, Youth Sports Coordinator. Resignations: Brandon Story, Assistant Varsity Hockey Coach, renewing winter coaching positions. Hockey, Brett Nylander; Girls Basketball, Dale Brune, Katie Piper, Kaden Noga; Boys Basketball, Ryland Hendrickson and Monty Goobles. One Act Play, Joyce Washburn; Knowledge Bowl, Liz Tangy and Tina Lorette.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Kay Johnson,
I'll second.
second by Sonstagard. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Need a motion and a second to approve the termination of employment with Brian Peterson, bus driver, effective 11/3/2025.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Severs,
Second by Hack.
second by Hack. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Need a motion and a second to approve the termination of employment with Gerald Thompson, custodian, effective 10/29/2025.
Motion by Hack.
Motion by Hack,
I'll second.
second by Severs. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Need a motion and a second to approve the certification of minutes relating to school building bonds and capital project levy.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Kay Johnson, second by Hayes. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Need a motion and a second to approve the fiscal year 2025 audit.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Sonstagard,
I'll second.
second by Kay Johnson. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Need a motion and a second to approve the 2025-2027 Master Teacher Agreement with Lake of the Woods Education Association, LWEM.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Kay Johnson,
I'll second.
second by Sonstigard. Any discussion?
This is the packet that we have right here.
The teacher.
Yep. Any more discussion?
All I have, sorry.
No problem. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Need a motion? One abstain?
I'm abstaining.
Nope. Okay.
Sorry, I didn't know how to be verbal.
One abstention. Yeah, well, the options I gave you, abstaining was not one of them, so what do you do? Need a motion and a second to approve the memorandum of understanding with Lake of the Woods Education Association. Is that also LWEM? Yeah, okay. For the compensation of music teachers when teaching band or choir and elementary general music.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Sonstigard,
Second by Hack.
second by Hack. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Did you have to abstain from that one, or are we good?
I don't think so.
Okay. Need a motion and a second to approve the memorandum of understanding with Lake of the Woods Education. What?
That was the last one.
Nope, there's more.
Oh, I went past one.
For us so rudely interrupted.
Carry on.
Association, LWEM, on eligibility and compensation of teachers when completing training to meet requirements of the READ Act.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Severs,
I'll second.
second by Kay Johnson. Any more discussion?
Sorry, Mr. Chair.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Any other business?
Not for me.
Then we'll call it a night at 7:08.
Thank you.
Skip that second to last one. Yeah, I said that.
So what is the acronym
Sorry.
LWEM?